So, I finally got around to finishing the narrative of Heresy, and I want to talk about it. I don't usually do this. I usually enjoy the story via bite videos or some other stuff and just, keep some of it mostly to myself. But when it's really good, I want to talk about it. And Heresy was incredible. I would even argue that this was the best Hive story that was told yet. This eclipses anything with the Taken King. This eclipses the Witch Queen expansion with Savathun stuff and the Lucent Hive. This was remarkable. And in my opinion, a very impactful narrative to the future of Destiny. But before we jump into it, just want to say there are going to be spoilers in here. So if for some reason you clicked on this video and didn't want spoilers, I'm sorry. I urge you guys to play it yourself. We will have full spoilers here. And besides that, if you guys want more Destiny 2 content for myself or anything I cover on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified on when I do drop that content. But yeah, with that out the way, spoilers ahead. The narrative here was peak Destiny. It really is clear that whatever Bungie has on the Hive is very flushed out. They have a template of what we love and what really is working, and they keep on hitting it. I wish other factions had a similar template. I think maybe if they did some redconning, I guess you could say, with the weird themes they have with the Fallen and kind of went back to the House of Wolves style, things like that, Rise of Iron stuff. That Fallen could hit a good place. The Vex has kind of always been a struggle. I thought they almost had that with Echoes, but it was something. But yeah, the Hive, they understand the story. They get it down packed. And the relationship between Xivu, Savathun, and the memory of Oryx, which will be the Echo of Navigation, was phenomenal. The amount of context we have gotten in the lore, from just the how to take, from the deep, from the Winnower being actually named, it is really good stuff. They also build on future conflicts and future enemies in Heresy. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but first, let's talk about the Pantheon, the Hive God. Xivu, it sucks that there wasn't much dialogue, but I will stand by this. The voice actors striking, they're rightfully striking, and they should be striking. So I would read subtitles, and I will be perfectly fine with that. The strike more important than me getting the pleasure of hearing her wonderful voice. Xivu was a very relatable character in general. This is something that I think kind of was present a little bit, but really Bungie, if you guys read the text, you see that her purpose is around Oryx, and since we took that from her, she has so much built-in hatred, and she's trying to find her purpose. And Echo of Navigation or Oryx calls her out of saying what you are doing is heresy. Like, move on. And that was a wonderful little tidbit. Xivu in the future, I'm really looking forward to it. I also like the fact that, narratively, she ends up using some of the brood from the moon, the Shadowkeep brood. Very cool stuff. Nice little subtle changes there. That was really good. Savathun, I think, is the second biggest impact in Heresy. Second behind a villain we will talk about. She is no longer our friend. At the end of Heresy, she makes it clear we are enemies. And she even acknowledges that before we thought we were adversaries, but she really was holding back. So the Witch Queen being an enemy truly is going to be fascinating. She calls us the Traveler's Pet. So even then, she's not saying she's not for the light, but she's an opportunist. This is something we have known with the Witch of Cunning and things like that. Her hatred is pretty clear in a narrative, and I'm excited to see when she steps into the front of being a true villain and us dealing with it. It is intriguing that Savathun is now back on the side of villain. I think when it comes to quality villains, it makes sense. I wasn't expecting that turn like that. I thought she would always kind of be like we're frenemies, we're technically enemies, but we're also friends. We were never that. I was totally wrong, and Savathun is an enemy. The Echo of Navigation, the story here, remarkable. The voice actor for Oryx, I know it's a new one, remarkable job. One of the best works done in this franchise. And every time Oryx was talking, I was listening. I was savoring every little inch. He flat out carried the narrative, and I guess you could say the impact of it. I'm not saying the other voice acting wasn't good or the story or the dialogue wasn't good, but when Oryx spoke, I shut up and I enjoyed it. It was remarkable. And the best part of it was hearing the memory of Oryx, which was the Echo of Navigation, learn and hear about the end of Oryx's life and how even himself, or the memory of Oryx, realized that Oryx committed heresy and stuff like that. It was fun. It was wild. And the fact that the Echo of Navigation was calling out the sisters and telling the sisters, you guys have fallen off the ways, was also awesome, because he was telling them straight to their face, yo, you're committing heresy. If you want to deal with it, face me, strike me down, continue this sword logic. But I think the biggest standout for Oryx at the end, maybe some people might not like this, I love this because it makes sense with his character, was at the end he wasn't resisting anymore. He wanted us to take him out because him coming back was heresy. It was against his logic. And even though that logic was built off a lie, it was remarkable, because no matter how bad I wanted Oryx or the Echo of Navigation to be permanent, just because the performer, the voice actor was phenomenal, the fact that at the end he stuck true to his principles was incredible. Some honorable mentions when it comes to characters and stories: the Drifter, Eris, remarkable stuff. Technically, Eris is stuck in her throne world, which is fascinating, and we'll see if she can learn how to get out sooner than later. We'll see how things go there. Sloan stuff, for the most part, wasn't recorded. Again, another voice actor rightfully striking. So the dialogue there, you have to have read. You may have missed it. They really, really moved forward her story with the consequences of being taken and that battle and things like that. But I don't think her story with taking and all that stuff is going to be done. She has a massive impact with the deep and stuff like that. So I do expect her in the future, hopefully with a voice, because they struck a appropriate deal for voice actors. Drifter, fun stuff there. Not too much to talk about. He definitely grew up a lot, I guess you could say, in this season. But the new villain from the deep is the one we didn't get answered. From what I understand, I didn't really get too into it when it comes to the entirety of the Bite video. Allegedly, this villain is the Lord of Every Nothing. For one, that is an insane name, if that's actually his name. The Lord of Every Nothing. Wild. And what it seems like is that since we never took up the mantle of taking king, there was some Warhammer Orc shit going on, and they basically created this being that is so powerful that it is affecting the communication with the Winnower. For example, Oryx was mentioning that he can't see the Winnower. Whatever this thing is powerful enough to rival the power of the Winnower in the deep and things like that. The Lord of Every Nothing is going to be a serious player. People have theories that who that potentially is. We'll see if that's true. We'll see if it truly leads into, I guess you could say, codename Apollo and Behemoth. But I think the one thing that we should be expecting narratively from the future is more stuff on the Nine. In the lore, in the books, the Nine are pretty much right now divided on what happened with the final shape. So the repercussions of that, I think, is clear. I do think that, unfortunately, they put it subtly in Heresy, where it's not front facing. It's not in your face of they tell, Harris says, or Drifter comes to us saying, yo, the Nine is in trouble. It's you got to kind of dive in there. You might miss it. You probably will miss it. But they gave a crumb with the Nine, and we'll see where things lead with that. But yeah, Heresy was a massive win when it comes to story. One of my favorite, if not, I guess you could say it rivals Seraph on seasonal story and stuff like that. Of course, we'll see how things play out in the long run if we have any other stuff. People may be a little bit disappointed with the presentation of the ending, but I think it's fine. I think it's fitting. I have no qualms there. But yeah, if you guys made it to the end of the video, curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the narrative of Heresy and where you fall on it. I absolutely love it. 10 out of 10. Hell, even 15 out of 10. It was stellar. Also, if you enjoyed the content and found it informative, be sure to drop this video a like, helps with the video a ton. And of course, like I said before, for more content for myself, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified on when I do drop more content. But besides that, yeah, Bungie, GG, you did a great job. Thank you guys for watching. ShadowNinja here, and I'm out.